Good evening, all. Ira Epstein, and here we are with your SPDR ETF stock market wrap-up. And this wrap-up is for Wednesday evening, and this is the 28th of September, 2022. Well, we got a surprise today. You know, the central bank in the United Kingdom, Bank of England, had been very, very quiet, not saying anything. They were hush about all that's been going on, and the market was going, well, I guess they're going to wait for their November rate setting meeting. Well, as it turns out, that's not what they did. They surprised the markets this morning. They came in and they said they will buy gilts. So the reason for it is that, as you know, Prime Minister Truss took over, about 2 weeks ago, and enacted a program where they're capping energy prices, they're cutting taxes, they're giving other subsidies, they're putting a windfall tax on energy, but only domestic on the top X amount %. And how do they pay for all the things that they're doing? That becomes the big problem, as the central bank, which normally is the entity that provides quantitative easing, isn't doing it. They want to go into the tightening mode to chase the United States and what other central bankers are doing everywhere to fight inflation. And what Ms. Truss's program does is more akin, I didn't say it is, but more akin to what Turkey's been doing. In other words, let's loosen everything, we'll make the economy, if we can make it grow, it'll get rid of inflation. It's a different school of thought. I'll leave it at that. I'm not saying it can't work. It's a different school of thought. And I am walking carefully because I really believe what I'm saying. I don't know what will work in this particular case. The UK is not Turkey. The UK doesn't miss out on debts. There's many things that are different here. They're not currency manipulators. So there's many things that are different in that. But it took the market by surprise. It took it enough by surprise that in no time at all, when the announcement came out, I was watching. I didn't even understand the announcement at first. And all of a sudden, the gilts are down 50 basis points, and then they just kept falling. Well, I watched what we were. At 5:30 in the morning, we were about 4% in our 10-year. After this came out, I'm going, what's going on? And I'm watching the pound all over the board. 100-point moves are nothing, up, down, sideways, because everybody's trying to figure out what it is. Well, we started correcting in America, our futures markets, and they started, if you will, correcting in a big way. Well, as they corrected, they went from 4% down to 373 on the close. That's almost like, by itself, an event by the Federal Reserve where they lower or raise interest rates a quarter point. That's how it shook the market. As it shook the market like that, the dollar broke. It went down 1.5 pennies. That's big. Other currencies up against it, and that gave the impetus to the stock market to rally, because one of the things the stock market's been watching is how much, number one, the dollar, how strong it is, number two, how strong interest rates are, and suddenly, hey, was that it? Have interest rates peaked out? Of course, that's what everybody thinks. And off to the races you were. As it turns out, before that I understood it, the markets had come up, and I was putting out sell recommendations galore in individual ETF stocks and the like. Still did, okay? Now the question is, am I right or wrong? Tomorrow's D-Day for me. I'm right or I'm wrong tomorrow. As I look at the markets, like on PLNT, Planet Fitness, and I told you, there's markets fighting for different events. Example, Netflix. Netflix is going into gaming. Netflix has a new service coming out, as you know, that's going to be about half the price of what I currently pay and you pay right now if you want to be ad sponsored. You're still going to pay, but then you get the different ads breaking in. Who knows how that's going to be. But people think, hey, there could be more to this, and it went up 10% in one day. Whoa! Just to give you an example. Well, PLNT was up today 2%. You can see that the market tomorrow is a big important day. If you take out the high of Tuesday, not Wednesday, you break the pattern of lower highs, lower lows, and that could give you more of a rally. Be a bear market rally. It could be headed back to 64.40. Supports 54.02. And the market is what? Did it lose its embedded status? No. You're going to see this over and over. Tomorrow's the day you either lose the embedded readings or you don't. You could even lose them if the market's down. If you went short, be in okay position to take money off the table. going to be a crazy day tomorrow. It's hard to tell what it's going to do. Here's that Netflix story. So Netflix, I have been telling you here, I think is caught in the sideways action, the consolidation pattern. That's the pattern that it is. Caught that you think it's going to break through the upper band. It doesn't. Goes down towards the lower band, doesn't go anywhere, and it's just back and forth. Eventually, it'll break out of it. Could it be now? It could be. Would it be a trend if it did? No, because you still have a lower low and a higher high. But here you are, up 9.29%. Apple. I have been telling you here regularly that I think Apple's going to be repriced. I think that the PE ratio is much too high, and how you do it is you got to take down the market. Apple put out and said that the phone sales are not going well, and the market dropped rather hard today. You can see it got to 144.84 in the market. It was able to stay down, but what percentage of this is, I think the S&P, is it? I think it's 7% the weighting. So you got to look at some of the indices, what Apple is. It's something to all the indices because it's so widely owned. The markets would have been stronger had this been higher. But they are not doing well. They are not. So these phones are not taking off. The new iPhone Pro, the one I bought, which I don't have yet. But they're not taking off well. They're not different enough. For me, it's different enough because I have an iPhone 10. So it's time for me to get rid of my X, and I promised myself, win, lose, draw, I'll go with the 14 Pro and see if I like it. I keep phones typically 3 years. Okay. My wife will get rid of hers if the 15 is time. That's how we do it, and then I can see if I like them or not. But you're still bearish. You're oversold. Resistance on the way back up will be the 100-day average since you're under it to the 18. You just seem to be bouncing back and forth in there. Disney got a bounce, finally. It has just been a hellacious stock coming from the 123 area all the way down on this break to 95. It's still embedded. This is a bear market rally. This is not a rally that says I have bottomed. I will accept that if the red line closes over 21. Then I think you'll make a run for these two averages. But right now I'm not in that camp. XLF, you have an embedded reading. I think the pros are selling into this. I think they and I would be wrong if the red line closes over 21. Barring that, I'm looking for a retest on the downside. XLI, I could be very wrong, but it's embedded. Until it loses it, you can still drop right back down. XSD, not embedded. So just a rally taking on the semiconductors. Okay. The home builders stepped out of their downtrend. Now, did it lose the embedded reading? No. Let me explain it. We step back here, and I think you'd agree. We have a constant pattern of lower highs, lower lows, right? That's a downtrend. You're fully embedded. The blue and the red lines going sideways under 20 day after day. Now the market today breaks this pattern. So that signals that we're at the end of that, let's call it from right here. That's where it began, by the way, up in this $65 range, that this $12 break in round figures has run its course. However, without the red line closing over 21, it's a bear market bounce, and you're probably going to bounce around for a while. But the bears are in control. Get this red line to close over 21, and then I think you're going back to the 18-day average to regroup up there. Energy sector, fully embedded. Resistance, the first challenge of the 200-day average on the upside. Now, I have a thing that I don't like to go short, ideally, under the 200-day average. So I'll wait for a day or two, and then if I see that the market's going to find resistance there, I might turn around. Interesting thing in this sector, Goldman Sachs lowered its energy price call for the year. Now they believe instead of going back to $100.25 by year end, it'll be $100 you go back to. Seen other analysts that are saying 65 is the next stop. So you got people all over the board. OPEC Plus has been told by Russia, make another big cut. Russia would like to see 1 million barrels a day, but Russia in this war. They're doing something different. Speaking of that, you know that the referendum vote, nearly everybody voted according to Russia that they want to come back into the motherland. Of course, there were no guns in the voting room, Everybody just showed up and that was it. And we know that. But it still means that what I talked about yesterday, the craziness that can happen, this nuclear threat is going to be very real. It's coming at you sooner than you think, okay? How we all handle it, I can't tell you. I have my own feelings on it, and they're strong. But as you take a look at the gold, it's still embedded. Got to get a reading over 21. Needs a big break tomorrow. Without a big break, you lose that, and you're probably going back to the 18-day average of closes to regroup. I don't know that it's going up anywhere. GDX, stronger than the gold itself, just got oversold, getting a bounce, still trendless. You have a higher high, lower and low. It paid attention to the lower band, as did the copper market. It's oversold down into the support zone, just the way it was here. I wouldn't be surprised that you get a bit of a lift in it. Now, if the world believes that the stock markets can get better and everything's going to get better and interest rates are going to suddenly fall and the Bank of England is onto something and U.S. got too high, this is a market that we should see that in. Also remember, here we are at September 28th. The big boy in the room is going to be China. The 16th is the Party Congress meeting. Are they going to pull out anything to give copper a bid? My bet is that they will. I don't know what it is. Probably has to do with infrastructure and housing. That's just my guess. Could be COVID, that they're going to change policies, something. TLT, you never want to be short into the Bollinger Band. I was telling the traders in my subscriber videos that this morning. UUP, isn't it amazing? Markets don't like to stay over the upper Bollinger Band for long periods of time. So in it, if I can get the market to do what I want, it's not going to let me do that. It's moving this stupid arrow. Do you see that? I can't do it. But as it's under this, it had 1, 2, 3. I think it was 4. I'm not sure if that day was over it or not. You might have been at 5 days over it. I think you were. I'm just going from memory. And I expected on the 6th you pull back. You go count yourself. I keep teaching you these little secrets because they're interesting. Have we turned the trend down? No. You need the red line to close under 79 to tell me that that trend is turned. And in the euro, you had here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days down, and you pop up on the 6th too. So that's what I look at. I'm going to remind you, it might be a good time if you'd like to learn a lot. Take the time when you're in the market research looking at my report. These are where you can sign up and get my subscriber video. Each morning, 5:30 in the morning, futures, 9 o'clock I start recording. Spider ETF stock one, it's published about 9:40 Chicago time. I always let the first half hour in the stock market go by. I don't have to do that in futures because it trades in most of them 23 hours a day from Sunday night until Friday at 4. Got that? So the difference is I want that, and I want to get the morning reports out of the way. I let the algorithm money come in, the rebalancing. You know, some people put money at night, orders in. Well, when are they going to be filled? You've got to figure that all out. That's what I've learned in the stock market. I'm Ira Epstein, anxious for tomorrow to see was I right or wrong. If I'm wrong, you'll know it. I'll come here with the egg on my face maybe, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.